Hello and welcome back to Excelsive. Some of you might have watched my video about mail merge that I released on November 28, 2023. Unfortunately, that video was removed by YouTube due to some policy regarding mentioning identifiable information in my video, despite the fact that I had a disclaimer at the very beginning stating clearly that all the names, address, phone numbers, email, etc. are fake and for only educational purposes. But that didn't help, not even when I appealed the decision. I thought that now someone will check the video and realize that I had clearly mentioned that the data is fake and created by me for educational reasons only, but that didn't help and the appeal got rejected. Well, you hope for the best and work with what you have, right? I promised you a lot in that video that I'll come up with a video explaining how to send all those progress reports via email to save you a lot of hassle and time. And meanwhile, I also scheduled a video about using mail merge for envelopes, which I had to remove because it also used the same dataset. So I changed all the identifiable information in my dataset and decided to make a single video which covers all the three aspects: letters, envelopes, and email. Kind of like a comprehensive mail merge tutorial. And that is what I have for you today. If you have already watched the video about letters, you can skip to the part where it's about the envelopes. You can find the chapters mentioned in the description, which will help you do that. So let's begin. Mail merge requires basically two sets of information. One is a document which has all the fixed fields, like this progress report of students from class 5. When I say fixed fields, I mean information that is common to all the recipients of this document, like the header up here, class teacher's name, sessions details, name of the subjects, this/100, which means the maximum marks are 100, this legend which explains what every grade stands for, date and signatures at the bottom. They are all the same for all the recipients of the letter and hence I call them fixed fields. Now for the other set of information, which we shall call variable, which is our data set here. This doesn't really has to be in an Excel file. We have the ability to create it in Word itself. But we have mainly two reasons that I will suggest you to create it in Excel. First, it's easier to manage in Excel, and more importantly, the second reason, you can then use the Excel file with other apps much easily than in Word. Now let's understand why I call these fields as variable. That's because each row is a record and all the cells are fields that can be inserted in a Word document. Once when all the required fields are done with, mail merge moves to the next record, and so on and so forth. This process is common for whether you want to print letters, envelopes, labels, or want to send emails. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's start with the actual thing. Let's get to our Word document, and in order to mail this progress report to every student, we will have to copy the name and details of that student and paste them here, cell by cell, which will be daunting to say the least. That is where mail merge comes in. It automates this boring and painful process so you can sit back and let Word and Excel do it for you. Let's go to the Mailings tab up here and click on Select Recipients. And we see three options. The first option, type a new list, would mean that you can enter all the details here. Second one is use an existing list, which is what we have in our case, our Excel file. And the last one is to use Outlook contacts, which could be useful for some, but in my case, I hardly have any details in my Outlook contacts besides name and email address, and that was when I was using Outlook, which I don't anymore. So we go with the second option, use an existing list, and it asks for the location of our file. And if we have a look here in this drop down, it says all data sources. Click on it and you see all the formats you can use as an address list. We have Access here, Excel is also here. We even have web pages, rich text format, Word and text files. We have our data in Excel, but we don't have to choose it from here. You can leave it to default and navigate to where your address list is stored and select it. It shows the available sheets. We only have one sheet here, so it's showing us just one. If you have more, choose the one where your data is. Our data already has headers, so we leave a check mark here and hit OK. Now all these fields have come alive, which were grayed out before. But let's first check this option, Edit Recipients List. Here we have all the data from our Excel file, which is now imported into Word. And we have several options here. We can sort this data. Let's say we wish to sort the data by the roll number. So we click on this drop down here and it has all the fields in our Excel file. So let's choose roll number here and we can further sort it by 2 more fields. We might want to use first and last name in these fields, but let's skip this for now. So we hit OK and here we have our list sorted by roll number. Next up is filter. Let's check that quickly. Here we can filter out all the results, let's say gender wise. If we only have to print records for all the boys, so we can filter by gender in the first drop down, choose equal to in the second, and in the third we mentioned male because in our Excel we have male and female as values. But we want to print for all the students irrespective of their gender, so we are not going to do that today. You can find duplicates in your records and you can also find any particular records if you want to check the address or maybe the phone number before you print it all. The last option is to validate address, but that needs an add-in for address validation, so we'll skip that for now. Let's go on the top here and in write and insert fields, you'll find all the headers from the Excel file. Let's choose father's first name and it's here in angle brackets. This denotes that this is a merged field and not actual text. Now let's give a space and insert last name. Now the address bit, so press enter and get to the next line and choose address line 1. Enter again to get to the next line and address line 2. And we know that in our Excel we have our address in these 2 fields and our address line 3 field is blank in all the cases, so we can skip that. Now we add the city, a space, now the zip code or the pin code depending on where you are. This completes the address bit. These 2 fields here, class teacher and session, are fixed for all the students, so we can leave them as is and move to our students' data. Same drill, let's select the first name from a merged field, give a space, and now the last name. Don't worry if the fields have spilled to the next line. It depends on the value in these fields. If they are small enough to stay in a single line, they won't take 2 lines like these field headers here. You can check your progress and how does it looks by clicking up here, preview results, and the fields turn to the actual data. This is how your letter is going to look when printed. You can use this to make corrections if any address or name is too long and is spilling on to the next line, which might mess up the formatting. You can continue working in preview mode or click on it again to go back in our fields view. Now it's just a matter of adding all the fields in their respective places. Like this, we highlight the obtained marks from a typed value and choose English from a merged field. We have left the slash symbol and 100 as it is. So if we click on preview, it's going to look like this, which is perfect. Let me do the remaining in fast forward mode and we'll move ahead. All done. All these fields here, the legend and the signature and the date bit are same for all the students, so we haven't touched them. If we click on preview result, we can see the fruits of our labor. You can check all your records either one by one from here. You can jump to the last record or the first one by clicking on these arrows here, or if you wish to jump to a particular record, you can put that here. Normally, it will be the row number from our Excel file, but since we have sorted this database in the beginning by roll number, this won't work as it should. So if you prepare your data completely in Excel before linking it to Word, that might be helpful for you in your case. So what now? We have created this single page, which seems to have the data for all the 209 students. Well, if you wish to send them via post and need to print them, it's easy. Hit Ctrl P to get to the print dialog, right? Not exactly. If we use the normal print dialog, it will just print the page it's at, and you'll have just a single page. Instead, we need to go to Finish and Merge. Click on Print Documents, and here we have the option to choose all records. Current record, which means this one where we are at, or we can choose the starting and ending record. We will choose all for now and click on OK. That brings us to this print dialog. You can select your printer from here, but since I'm printing as PDF, I choose this option, Microsoft Print to PDF, and hit OK. And since I'm printing as PDF, it will ask for a location to save the PDF file and a name. So let's do that now. Hit OK and done. It will show you this box for a few moments depending on the number of records. In this case, printing to a PDF file for nearly 200 records, it took a good minute or so for me. It might be different for you depending on your system speed. And here is a printed file with each page showing a separate record. If you choose to print it on paper, this is how each page will look. So now you have printed all these letters and you need to send them to the respective students. You can't just send them as is. You'll need envelopes for them, and these envelopes will again need to have the address on top. Mail merge comes to your rescue again, and we'll use it to print envelopes for all our recipients. So let's do the mail merge for envelopes, but we'll use the wizard this time just to show you one more way. Keep in mind that our address list remains the same, and since our students are minors staying with their parents, we'll address our envelopes to the parent's address, and incidentally, we have the required fields in our Excel. So let's start by opening Microsoft Word. I have it ready here with a blank document this time, and just like the last time, we are going to go to the Mailings tab, but this time, as I said, we are going to try another method, which will be easier than before. We are going to click here, Start Mail Merge, and instead of choosing envelopes from here, we are going to click on Step-by-Step Mail Merge Wizard. And on the right here, our wizard pops up. Let's have a look at the options. It says here step 1 of 6, and it's asking us to select what we are working on. We wish to print envelopes, so we choose envelopes from here and click on Next here. Now we have 3 options. Use the current document means the one we are working on right now. But this is a default A4 page, and we are out to print envelopes, so this one is grayed out. Second option is Change Document Layout. And the last one is Start from Existing Document, which shows us our progress report files, which we certainly don't want for this video. So we'll choose this one, Change Document Layout. And now we have this option, Envelope Options. Click on it and it takes you to this dialog box. There are 2 tabs on top, Envelope Options and Printing Options. Let's start with the Envelope Options. And this drop down shows us the various sizes of envelopes. We have to choose our envelope size from here. So let's choose size 10 for our video. Don't worry if your envelope size is not available. You can scroll all the way down to custom size and enter the size yourself. But we are going to go for size 10. Now we have the option to choose font for delivery address and return address. You can change them if you wish. We are going to leave them as default. Move to the next tab on top, Printing Options. On my system, I have set Microsoft Print to PDF, as you can see here. So it is showing me options related to that. But unless you have some crazy professional office printer, you'll have the same options. What this feed option is, Word wants to know how are you going to feed the envelope in the printer. Since it's not a normal A4 sized page and the printing area is limited, we need to make sure to choose how we have placed our envelopes in the printer's paper feeding tray. So choose the option that best fits you, and up next we have to choose whether our envelope is face up or face down. The icon is way too small, so I have prepared this to give you a better understanding of what does that means. Now that we have chosen all the options, hit OK, and our page layout changes to what now looks like an envelope. Let's click on Next. This looks familiar. It's asking for source of our recipients list. Do we already have one, or we want to create one, or maybe we want to use our Outlook contacts. We already have our file, so we are going to choose the first option, Use an Existing List, and click on Browse here. Navigate to our Excel file and choose it. Now we have 2 new options here. One gives us the choice to select another list and the other lets us edit the list. We are interested in neither, so we click on Next to see what's next in this wizard. Okay, now we have 4 options. Let's check them one by one. The first one says Address Block, and when we click on it, we get this box. And it seems that since we are writing addresses on our envelopes, Word has smartly put together some examples we can use straight away. We have some choices on the left, and depending upon how our list is made, it shows us various choices to display the recipient address on the envelope. But it doesn't give me all the options that I want, so I'll skip that. If it works for you, you can choose it in your specific case. Next up is Greeting Line, and this gives us a sort of opening statement, but we don't need that on the envelope, so no thanks. If you have an account where you can use electronic postage on your letters, the third option is for you. So you can print that on your envelope as well, but you will need an add-on for that. The last option is More Items, and this is the one I'm going for. It has 2 options on top, Address Fields which means fields which Word has identified as address, and database fields, which are the fields from our Excel file. I'll choose database fields because that gives us the most control. Now it's the same as in our progress report. We insert the fields one by one, so let's do that. But before that, our cursor is all the way to the left. Depending on the accepted norms of writing address where you are, you should bring the cursor where you want the address to start. In my case, we generally write the recipient address in the center on the front side and the sender's address either on the lower right side of the front side or on the back. So let's first bring our cursor in the center, and we are going to write to clarify that this is the address where we wish to send the letter to. Once I had a letter posted to a client which was in another city, and it takes normally 2 days for a letter to be delivered to his location. The very next day, I got the same letter delivered back to me and was told that since I had not mentioned to and from on the envelope, they took my address as the one where it should be delivered. Since then, I have made a point to clearly mention to before the recipient address. Well, you learn something every day, don't you? Let's move to the next line and mention Mr. Since we are using father's name here, so that should be good for all our envelopes. Click on More Items and choose this field from our list. Next step might annoy you a bit. We have to put a space here, but we can't do that since we have this dialog box in front of us. Unless we get rid of it, we can't put space. It's weird why this small thing was not conceived of. But again, we work with what we have. So let's get rid of it and put a space. You know what? Let's choose our fields from up here, insert merge field. This doesn't have the same limitations. Yep, looks fine so far. Press enter. Let's add the address line 1 and 2 like this. Now the city and the pin code or zip code, and lastly the phone number. And this completes all the fields I wish to add here. If you wish to add a return address, you can do so. You just have to type them wherever you want them. Excelsior Public School has return address pre-printed, so I'm going to skip that. Now let's click on next here, and it's the same as we had when we clicked on preview result in our last video. We can scroll through from here or find a recipient from here. We can even exclude the current recipient from here. Let's click on next to finish the process, and we get to print and another option to edit. We'll choose print from here, and we have the choice if we wish to print all of them, the current one, or from a certain number to a certain number. We are going to choose all and click OK. We can choose our printer from here. I'm sticking with my trusted Microsoft Print to PDF and hitting OK. Since it's printing to PDF, it is going to ask for a location and a name. So let me quickly do that. Done. And now this is going to take a minute or so. Last time when we were printing progress report, it took a good minute, but this time it did it considerably quickly. And here we have our file. Don't be alarmed by the layout. Since I have printed it as PDF, it's looking like this. When you print it on envelopes directly, it looks fine. Now you have your letters, you have the envelopes. If you are those unlucky ones, you'll have to fold all these progress reports and put them in their respective envelopes. The only saving grace is if you have chosen to not mess up with the address data, like sorting it for letters in a different way than in envelopes. You will have letters and envelopes printed in the same sequence, which will simply mean that you just have to fold the first letter and put it in the first envelope, after verifying it, of course. But what if you are one of those lucky ones and you can send these reports by email? No printing, no folding, and no mailing. Besides saving a couple of hours in labor cost, you'll be saving a substantial amount in mailing cost as well. So let's move ahead and see how can we send all these progress reports as emails. We have our email addresses in this field, and since YouTube doesn't like personally identifiable email addresses, even if they are fake, and I have clearly mentioned the fact that they are in fact fake, all the email addresses are of the channel. Yours would have the individual email addresses in this column. We are going to send our progress report, so let's open the Word file, and since we already have our Excel file connected from our letters part, we don't have to do that again. We can simply click on this Edit Recipient List to verify, and it's good to go. Sending this letter via email is pretty simple. Just go to Finish and Merge and choose Send Email Messages. And we have these options here. First one requires email address, so if it doesn't show already, click on this drop down and choose the field where the email address is mentioned. Next is subject. Let's try it. Progress report here. And the last one is mail format. We have the option to attach the file to each email, which will attach this Word file with each email. Plain text, which I assume will remove all the formatting and color from our file, which we definitely don't want. And the last is HTML, which I think will be the best as it will be a part of the message and preserves all the formatting. Further, if we send Word file as an attachment, since it's a Word file, it's editable by the recipient and we don't want that. So let's choose the last option, HTML, from here. Now to these options here, we can send to all the recipients, the current one, or only few. Just for the purpose of this video, I'll choose 1 to 10 and hit OK. It will go through each record like this, and once it's done, it will stop. I already have Outlook opened here, and if we go to our outbox here, we'll find all the messages here. Let's open one and see how does our email looks. Here we have all the details from our Word file. All formatting and details preserved as they should. Now all we have to do is go to Send Receive tab here, click on Send Receive all folders, and all our emails will be sent. This completes our video about mail merge, and we have covered nearly everything that you may come across while using this awesome feature yourself. Nevertheless, if you have any queries or require any help in your specific situation, don't hesitate to write it in the comments and I shall try my best to help you out. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, like, share and subscribe this video and keep spreadsheeting.